Hello, this is Gene. I was going to put this on my other channel, but I don't have a lot of subscribers on that channel. And I think that when I get through this video, I'm going to be talking about things that are probably more relatable to this channel. So, recently, the new Halloween movie came out. And for me, I gave it 6 out of 10, 3 out of 5. If I was a reviewer on like Rotten Tomato, I would say it's a fresh, just barely a fresh. And only really because of, I think Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in the movie. But there's some issues with this that I want to respond to some of the people that have been talking about that this movie didn't have any identity politics in it, that it was just a empowering female lead movie, kind of like Aliens or maybe the first Halloween. Some of the movies that we know from our youth that women had a strong role in, they were the heroes at the end of the day. But there's something a lot more in this thing. And what happens is when we finally get a movie that we think that's not really littered with identity politics, we want to just say it's great. And people were talking about that this movie has made so much money. You know, a small budget, about 10 million. I think it was clearly more than that when it comes to actually advertising it. I don't think that Jamie Lee Curtis got less than like 4 or 5 million to reprise her role. I think she probably got at least that much. Nobody else in the movie would have got anything. But the budget of actually advertising it was a lot more, I'm sure. So I think that when they say it's $10 million, I think it's probably closer to 20 million. But regardless, it made almost $80 million this weekend, so it's made a profit. My issue is that she put out a tweet the other day, saying that she's the most ever after 55-year-old woman, and the female lead, and all this stuff, and talking about she wanted to boast about it. Look, I love you, Jamie, as an actor. I think that your politics are not where I'm at, but come on now. This was the original Halloween coming back after we've had these Rob Zombie attempts at Halloween. It was going to make some decent money, at least $50 or $60 million on a weekend. It was going to get that regardless. $80 million isn't that much when you consider it's at least $8 to $10 to see you. So you're talking about maybe 8 million people saw the movie, maybe less than that. So whatever. I watched the movie on Friday. I think it was a meh for me. So in this video, I'm going to quickly go through the movie, tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, and then I want to get a little bit more in depth on some of the things that I've seen that they're saying that this movie isn't steeped in identity politics. I saw it. They do it a lot better now. This is not in your face, but it's clearly there. And of course, as our heroine in life, feminist frequency, and Annie Sarkeesian says that once you see it, you can never not see it. So on her side, she sees things that she thinks that it's this, and this. It's bad. And when I see something, I know that it's put in there for that type of value. I have to call it out better as well. Overall, if you guys who watch movie reviews on YouTube, there's 2 or 3 guys that are at the top. I don't always agree with their reviews. But Chris Stuckman, and I'll put his view down below, he gave it a C, and I agreed with almost everything he said. I don't think the movie had any dread, any apprehension at all. I think the trailer gave way too much out of it. They could have done a lot of better things with the trailer that we didn't see that right before we saw the movie. So when we go into the movie, we find out that she has got some issues. She's got whatever it is, PTSD, after what happened to her 40 years ago. So I think that's a great way to start. I wish they didn't show that in the trailer. And they showed too many kills in the trailer as well. And there were ways that they could have gone around that and not do that, because it was more to find out more about this. So it started off pretty well. And I like the idea of a documentary film, people coming in to talk to serial killers, or what do you want to call him? Because if you have to look at this now, we're talking about the second movie now. Although I still think that the second Halloween was the greatest, other than all the sequels, it was the best one of all time. And I don't think it should have been out of canon. I think it should have been after that one. It could have been the same thing because it was that same night. And there's no reason why they couldn't have kept that going on. And then she would have more to be, I guess, traumatized these 40 years later. So I really liked the way it started and where it was going. But we find more and more about her, that she had 2 failed marriages, but she, out of those 2 marriages that we know nothing about, which gets me into more of my issues about the identity politics that's in this movie. We find that she had a kid, and that kid had a kid. And so daughter, but we know nothing about the father's, her husband during this time. We don't know really enough about her backstory, other than the fact that when the documentary people come in, I think at that point they could have asked more questions. She might have did a flashback back to then when she was in her younger years. Now, it's kind of hard. Obviously, she's 60 something now. It's kind of hard to do a flashback when she was 30, let's say, and trying to return back to those times when she was having all these problems, trying to assimilate, I guess, back to society. But it could be just a little of her just talking to a therapist and not necessarily seeing her, maybe seeing her in like a foggy type of way that you know it's her, but it's not really her because it would be somebody younger. And then she's just sitting there listening to what he has to say and saying, you got to get past this or whatever. We don't really talk about this. So I'm going to come back to that later on, but let's just continue on with the movie. So she's just basically a Terminator 2, Sarah Connors basically at this thing. So she's got herself set up for all this stuff. So, but there's no, even when he's out and all that stuff, there's no dread that he's going to do this. We know that the event of the movie is going to be the showdown that they have. And I don't want to spoil it, but clearly we know that there's going to be a showdown between them two. That's how what's going to be, and we don't know at the end of the day if he's actually dead. So I don't really want to go into the movie that much. There was no real dread. There was no atmosphere like the first Halloween. There just wasn't there. The movie moved on. It was filmed well. The directing was well. I think that the script was bad, and there were a lot of chances there for the movie to be great. When I talk about great, I'm talking about really explored her PTSD and how she had to deal with that and how it actually destroyed her family and why she suffered losing 2 marriages. That leads me to where I'm going to get right now, because so many people are talking about, especially on the Geeks and Gamers, like, look, there's no added anabolics in this and nothing at all. I would like to know something very similar or very simple. There's a point in this movie where the granddaughter is going to get some sort of thing. It's very important, or a performance that she's got to go to. And she, Laurie Strode, apparently is those people that are shut-ins, but she's not really. They just said this, but her mother says, no, she won't come out because she won't never leave where she's at. But of course she gets out. My question is, did she marry guys? I'm talking about Laurie here. Whoever the grandfather would be, wouldn't he be at these places? Wouldn't he be supporting his granddaughter or his daughter? There's no talking about this at all. It's like there is no male in this, no influence at all. We only know this by one sentence, that she was asked about 2 failed marriages. Where are these guys at right now? It would have been a better thing to make the story more balanced if the grandfather was there. They don't have to be together, but they could be there, and she could be like that. He could be the counterpoint to her psychosis about Michael Myers and the fact that he's going to get out and come and kill everybody. That there was somebody there and he couldn't deal with her, and eventually she had to leave. And they could have made him a sympathetic character. We don't know anything about it because we've been fed this all along that men are bad. So even these movies, when you have the chance to say, hey, this is the damage that she had from the PTSD from after this traumatic event, that she could not hold down a relationship, that you could see this guy and you could have maybe painted him as a good character, that he couldn't deal with her and her psychosis. And at the end of the game, at the end of the movie, maybe you feed him to Michael, or he tries to come back and try, because she still loves Laurie Strode and wants to do something for his granddaughter if she's in danger. Then you have a good male character in this movie. And like I said, you could have him being still fed to Michael at the end and he gets killed, because This is a spoiler as well. It happens to the father-in-law as well, her son-in-law. And this guy, but he, as every other movie, every other person, every male in this show is all stupid. So I'm going to talk about those real quick. Now, the only person that doesn't seem to be that stupid is the cop that was there 40 years ago at that night. And he's still a cop. I don't know why he'd still be working when he's 60 or whatever. But anyway, he's there, and he's trying to help out. And he makes stupid decisions, and there's a twist in the movie where he gets killed. So that might be the only decent, quote-unquote, white guy that's good in the movie. The only other either boy or male that looks somewhat good is they have a black kid that's being babysitter, and he basically plays the black, angry, comedic. It's almost like what it used to be the girl, the women, the black women with the wig. This is how he is in this movie, and he's like comical type of thing, and he's the only one that does anything. There are several instances in this movie. You see the friend zone dude who takes a pass at her granddaughter, and she obviously does what every girl does when it comes to friend zones. No, I didn't want that from you. Even though I want you to be my friend, I don't want that from you. And of course, they get killed. And you got the only other one that's somewhat at the same level. He's the stoner guy, and eventually goes up and he tries to save the day, and he gets killed, which is fine. This happens in horror movies. My issue is that why are they showing her? They show her being a failed marriage twice. You don't see where's the father, where's the grandfather in this. That would have been a character that could have been fleshed out. We'd have talked a little bit more about it. We would have seen more about Rory Strode in the film, because one of the biggest complaints I have in the movie is that she's not on there that much. She is for a little bit, and then for like second and third act, she's not there until the end, of course, but she has to face down Michael Myers. So I thought that hurts the movie, and it just basically went back to formulaic. Let's go back, and we have to go back and serve our demographic that we want to service right here. We had to go back and say these are teenagers at this rave that they're having. I mean, it was too crazy for me. I mean, I don't understand why a school would allow that, but anyway, they did, and this is what it is. And then Michael Myers is doing what he does. He kills people, and the kills are fine, but there's so much opportunity here. I look at it. I try to take the lens off so I don't get frustrated when I'm watching the movie, but it's clearly there. She reminds me of a feminist who can't get on with her life. If there had been 4 or 5 cats in her house, that it would have been the perfect thing. And as a real person, she basically said she compares the PTSD in this movie, in her character, to Me Too. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, when she said something like that, and I'm like, okay, well, you have to be 100% honest with this. Almost at least half of the Me Too accusations are false. They just are. All the studies that have been taken of any reality, it's women lie about this between 40 to 50% of the time. So just to get attention, people are going to go online saying shit like this. On their own, I'd say at least 50% of them are wrong. And I'd say of the rest of them, maybe 10% might be right, and the rest of them are just misunderstandings or regret the next day. This idea that we live in this culture that just glorifies rape of women is crazy. Now, there are parts of the world that they do, and apparently we just want that to come in this country, but that's another video. So, as a character, as a human, or as a real person, she said she compares this to what Me Too is. I find that hard to believe. Somebody that had to go through something like that, had all their friends being killed on Halloween 40 years ago. I don't think it means it's the same as somebody was groping you, trying to have sex with you, and you got away from them. I don't think it's the same thing. I'm sorry. And if anybody would ever watch this movie, if that happened to you or you got raped or something like that, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But regardless, she said that this is part of her motivation for doing this, and she's a feminist. So this movie, at the end of the movie, I took a couple days and I thought about it, and I said, she's like a feminist sitting at home just waiting for the next man to come home to kill him. It's like, what the movie failed so much at this idea. First of all, there's no real, like I said, there's no dread. There's no atmosphere of what's going on. There's not the original. You can never get the original back. I understand that, but there really, yeah, the music's there, but it's really not there. And the story, it's there. And I said on my view, on my IDM review, that the story was there. The people were there. It could have been a really good movie. It could have been a classic. And a lot of people are saying it's what this is. I don't see it. Clearly, apparently, at the end of the movie, he's might still alive. So we're going to have the second one. But the idea that when people that are defending this movie saying it doesn't have any of that in it, it clearly does. Because at the end of the day, so much like was it The Quiet Ones or whatever it was, at the end of the day, the father gets killed in that movie, and the woman destroys the alien at the end, and she's got this smile on her face like she did something, that she's empowered by that. And we have the same thing now. We have the 3 women left at the end of the day. And yeah, they came up with a great idea, but I'm like, there are a lot of plot holes in this movie that this should never got to this point. And can we look back and say that Michael is either supernatural or not? I mean, he should be dead, obviously, but people pointed out to me that they shot the doors or the floorboards, so maybe Michael should get out. The point I'm trying to make in this movie, and I know I'm rambling because I don't write anything down, they had a real opportunity to do something here. I'm a big fan of horror. I have all their movies. They had a real opportunity here to explore the idea of being part of a traumatic experience, to make it so real, and just get rid of all the other sequels and talking about what she dealt with. And they could have talked about that, and that could have took 20 or 30 minutes. And then you have that point where they go see the girl at her performance, and the grandfather's there, and you can have him, you can talk about, they may look at each other, there might be something he remembers and saying that, I really, that could have really been explored, but they didn't do it. And they didn't allow any male character to have any role that's somewhat heroic or something that men would do. The cops were stupid. They killed they killed a lot of guys. So it's just when guys, certain channels come out and try to say that there's no identity politics. I saw it's at a different level than some of the other things, but it's clearly there. It's like, I can do it without you. Like I said, the son-in-law was basically looked at as a buffoon. He was saying dad jokes the entire movie. Even the cops weren't that good. And the person that you think that's supposed to be a good person has a twist in it. There is no real heroine of a guy in the movie, other than maybe the young teenage guy. So I see this, and and just taking, if I could focus it and just say I'm just going to watch this movie, and at the end of the day I say, you know what, it was okay. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, I saw the movie, the first one when it came out. The second one, the sequel was one of the greatest experiences I ever had in a movie on opening night. Back then we didn't have thousands of theaters. One big building where it was at, and it was full. Everybody on the lower floors up there and the balcony, and everything. The apprehension, everything was just there in the movie that night. This was not anything like that. There was no really gasps in the movie. We knew where it was going to go. They had some jump scares. There wasn't really, and they didn't really work at all. The comedy didn't work. I think other than the fact that Jamie was fine in the movie, there's another opportunity. You can talk about that, but then you could also talk about Michael, and you could actually use that and find out, did we find anything more about him? We don't want to, if we're going to say it's realistic, okay, all the rest of the sequels are not real, or more supernatural. This was a real man. Can we find out more about what happened to him? And it doesn't have to be 20 minutes of this. but we can find out more. And what is the link between him and Laurie Strode? Is he just a killer that doesn't care who he kills? I mean, he walks through people. He doesn't kill them all. There's a reason why, and they pushed out the old eye that he wasn't her sister or all that stuff. They put all that shit out. That's fine, but there could have been something else that he saw. If you remember the first movie, he was basically stalking her. Why? Did she have something about him that he liked? Just interesting things. And I do like some of the little things, the shout-outs that they did to the first movie. I think that's fine. But overall, the movie was just meh for me, and I expected so much more. But there's just subtle hints of identity politics in this, and they just continually want to do this with movies. So this movie didn't become. Everybody tells me that it's like similar to the classic of it. No, it has the same problems that we have in modern films, and how they portray men and how they portrayed women in this. That the women are smart, and at the end of the day, they're the most they have the most heroism in them. That they don't run away. That they have they have that smart to do things. They built all this stuff, and I'm just wondering this one thing. We don't know that this woman ever had a job. We don't know this. I guess that she had 2 husbands. Apparently, she took all the money from them to build this fortress that he had at her house. There's no proof that she could have had enough money to do this. I mean, she has all these guns, and they did all this stuff in the house. Who came in there and built this stuff? They don't show her doing it. So somebody knew that she was doing it, or she contracted it out. And maybe her first husband, who maybe they had the kids with and had the granddaughter with, maybe he was a prepper or something, and she stayed with him, and then eventually I don't know. Those are things that could have been explored in this movie, and maybe if there's going to be a second movie, they'll bring it up. But why? That's when that movie started going. I'm like, she was married twice. Where's the grandfather? Did they die or something? There's nothing. There's nothing like they died or they left or she was abused. She might have been abusing them. There is so much that could have been explored here that she almost got to the point where she had to go to jail because maybe she was abusing them. There's so much because she damaged her kid and her family. On the off chance that this guy will come out and kill her family. So at the end of the day, all that she did is basically justified at the end of the day. Okay? That might be true. But that 40 years, what was she doing? I don't understand why they didn't talk about this. And maybe if they do a series on a Netflix or something that can explore after this day to now. Because they took all that shit out, and they want us to say that that's the second sequel or the first sequel. Whatever. Anyway, again, I've been rambling. I'm over 20 minutes already. Just want to say, overall, it was meh for me. Again, I took my money. I spent $4 to go see it. I wouldn't spend more than that. I probably will not keep it, even though I have all the Halloweens, so I'll probably buy it anyway. I think my son probably wants to see it, but there's nothing to it. It's just, there was nothing for it. And it's not like I'm desensitized from how the people are now. Was this supposed to be a R-rated movie? There's nothing in the movie that I can remember that justifies an R-rating. There's nothing there. So I have to look again, whether it's PG-13 or not, because there was nothing there, and there should have been something more. And again, I think that it would have been great to have that dichotomy between the two players, Michael Myers and her psychosis and her PTSD and her traumatic, and him, why he became what he became. And I think they talk about this in the remakes, but there could have been something here. And you could talk about it. There's a couple times where she sees his counselor so there's like a little tension right there. And it could have been explored more, and I don't understand why it wasn't. And it's just me being a critic of the movie, being a horror fan. And also, it's very hard for me, and I accept it, that I can't watch a movie when I see things that are just being pushed onto us. When something could have been very clearly done here, to have the grandfather there, then she could almost make her more of a, I mean, she's already sympathetic figure, but she became so far that maybe we could see something would happen, and all this. I mean, 40 years later, she's crying at a table. I mean, that's a bit much. I mean, at the end of the day, she's Sarah Connor now. She's going to kill everybody. And whatever you believe that or you don't believe that, my question is, why would she stay there? She said, I knew one day he always going to come back. Okay, it's fine. We can have that discussion. So, anyway, so let me know what you think below. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, let me know. Any topics you want me to talk about, we'll gladly do that. And those who are in the United States, we're about 15 days from voting. Please get registered and vote your conscience. I'm going to vote mostly all Republican. First time in my life. Even when I voted for Trump, I voted for a lot of other Democrats down ballot. I can't do it this time, and you guys will know why. But go ahead and vote and register, because you have to have a voice. And I'll still support the idea that you want to vote. And also research what's going on, especially at the border right now with the caravan and all that stuff. And just understand whose side and what's really more important for our futures in the United States and the West in general. Again, thank you for watching. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.